Hello everyone, this is your host, Gemma Putty, bringing vibrant living conversations from North Idaho and across this region. I'm so excited to chat with entrepreneurs, creatives, and believers as we journey together to connect more deeply to ourselves, our earth, and our communities. Today, I am talking with Tom Morgan, the founder of Lake City Bicycle Collective in Coeur d'Alene. My husband is a lover of bicycles, and through our travels locally and across the world, we love seeing how bicycles create an affordable, active, and fun way to get around. So with this collective locally, Tom is opening up this opportunity for many people and inspiring many people to ride their bikes even more, which is also the reason I'm sure that many people have recommended that I talk to Tom and understand a little bit more about this light that he's bringing to the community. So welcome, Tom. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
My absolute pleasure. I'm excited to hear more about everything that you're doing down in the collective. Even though my husband's a part of the collective, I don't hear all of the passion in your story behind it. So will you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey to finding the collective here locally?
Well, anyway, it's kind of been a windy road, but I've been a lover of bicycles myself for, gosh, as long as I can remember. My grandmother got me my first bicycle from a secondhand store when I was, 5, maybe 6 years old. And she got it at the St. Vincent de Paul store, which was located, 50 years ago where it is, right now. And,
Nice.
And so, I learned to ride a bike, pretty young. It was a way to, we grew up out in the north end of the county, and in those days it was a lot of space in between places, and I got a big family that's kind of spread out all over out there. And so for me, it was a great opportunity to get places, there's walking, but then there's riding a bike, and riding a bike gets you there faster and a whole lot more fun. And, there's little, anyway. And so, I say secondhand bike. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. It was important for my parents, for my mom to be home. So we were a 1-income family. And financially things were tight, so we had everything we needed, but we didn't always have the things that we wanted. And so when I got the bike, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember what that little secondhand bike meant to me, and I literally kept that bike. I gave that bike to a kid in my neighborhood. I think I was 48 years old when I gave that bike away. I had that bike forever. Yeah. And anyway, so fast forward 30 years, and I'm a heating and air conditioning repairman. And when you're a guy that does what I do, or was doing at the time, I actually retired from that last year, so I could do the bike shop full time.
Nice.
But one call you might be in a $4 million, $5 million house on the lake, and your next call you might be in a single wide manufactured home, somewhere else in town. And so you see every financial situation. You see the people that have everything and don't necessarily take care of it because getting more is so easy. And then you see the kids that live in situations, maybe closer to how I grew up, that don't have a lot and don't really have much hope, to have. And so I wasn't bashful about asking the people that I'd see some old bike leaning up against a garage or in the bushes or something, or just in disuse, and I would say, hey, what are you gonna do with that? Because I know a family across town, or 10 miles from here, that's in a situation, and hardly anybody ever, in fact, nobody, I can't recall a single person that ever said, no, you can't have that.
Right.
Almost everybody says, man, if you can find a kid that can use it, then by all means. And so I'd go do an air conditioner repair, and when I would clean up, I'd load my tools in the truck, and I'd shove a a bent bicycle in the back of the truck and take it home. And when I had about 50 bikes in the backyard of our house, my wife says, "I think we got a problem here." And
Yeah.
and along the way, you meet other bicycle people. Coeur d'Alene is a great bicycle town.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I met another group of people that was trying to do something, and then you'd meet another group of people and they're trying to do something. And so we kind of got this loose group of people together that was and we do these monthly meetings at a coffee shop. 40, 50 people would show up to
Wow.
and talk about bicycle stuff, and
Yeah.
people from the bike shops would show up, and we had mountain bikers, and we had BMX bike riders, and we had just people riding to work. We had all e-bike people, and but the key ingredient was bicycles. And anyway, it was fantastic. I had someone along the way ask me, have you ever considered turning this thing into a nonprofit organization? And I never really had. But about 10 years ago, I guess, my wife and I was born in North Idaho, barely been out of North Idaho in my whole life. When you live in a place like this, what's the point? Where do you need to go? There's, everything awesome is here, so, but we took a trip to Boise, and Boise is another town that has a fantastic bicycle community. I mean, if I couldn't live in Coeur d'Alene, I think the only other city that I would consider living in would be Boise.
Yeah.
And it's straight up simply because of the bike culture. And so we were down there on our bikes, and someone told us, they said, "Hey, don't get off the trail because there's these things down there." Boise has a lot of what they call goat heads.
Oh,
and
right.
So it's a seed pod, I guess, that drops off of a certain kind of like brush, I guess, that grows along the trails, and they are, it's like driving through a bag of push pins or something. I mean, if you get off of the trail, you're gonna get a flat, I guarantee it. and so we were riding along, and Jamie's behind me, and so I'm kind of looking over my shoulder trying to talk to her about something, and as I'm looking left over my shoulder, I run off of the trail and down into I end up with a flat tire. And thank goodness I did. It was the best 2 miles I ever walked. Someone else on a bicycle came past us and says, "You need to go to Boise Bicycle Project." They yelled it as they rolled by.
Huh.
And so anyway, we pushed, jogged, ran beside the bike, or I did, and she was still pedaling, and we went into this little place down on Lusk Street. It's just a few blocks off of the campus, the Broncos campus, and so I go walking inside this building, and you know how in the movies where they'll have that scene where they start zoom in on a thing, and then they zoom out, and you see the rooftop, and they go a little further and you see the city, and then you go a little further and you see it from outer space. And it was like, it was one of those moments where the whole thing just came into view, and I was like, how? Exactly. That's the moment. Yeah. It's like a beam of light, shone down from the cosmos,
Yeah.
And at any rate, and so I actually lost track of Jamie for a couple hours or maybe it wasn't that long. I swear I had never. It was like the carnival, like the candy store. It was like I was mesmerized.
Yeah.
And I thought, how on earth has a place like this existed, and I've never seen it before? And so I started looking into what a bike co-op is, and what a bike collective is, and there was other terms: bike kitchen, bike co-op, bike collective, other terms. And so I started Google searching it, and So, and I just talked about it, and I talked about it, and Jamie got sick and tired of hearing about it. And so we came back to Coeur d'Alene, and I was like, how are we going to do that? How are we going to replicate that? And honestly, you know, I thought I don't have time to do it. You know, I work 50, 60 hours a week repairing air conditioners. I don't have time, but I wish somebody. And so I thought, well, maybe if I talk to enough people, somebody else will decide to do it. And I don't know, a couple of years went by, and nothing came of it. And so finally, I don't know, the two of us kind of made this decision together that if it was going to happen, we were going to have to do it. And so,
and this whole time you're like, still, you have your bikes and you're kind of giving them away to people along the way.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And so I'm still doing my thing. And so, like I said, all the time. So again, I would, and so really what happened for me is it got to the point where I would show up to do someone's air conditioner repair. And because I talked about this all the time. I mean, anyone who would listen, and even people who didn't want to listen, I would just talk about it all the time.
I love that. Yeah.
And so all of my customers, I was talking about this stuff, and especially the ones where I had maybe gotten a bike from, certainly the ones that I had given a bike to. And so I would show up to do an air conditioner repair, and the customer would say, "Oh, hey, I got something for you." And they had picked up a bicycle at a yard sale in the neighborhood for $5 or $10 or something. And so people started saving that stuff for me and keeping it for me. And so, you know, most times I see people, you know, once in the spring to work on, you get their air conditioner tuned up for the season, and then once in the fall to get the furnace tuned up for the season. And so without fail, I would start to show up places in the springtime to do their air conditioner repairs, and somebody would have a bicycle for me. Yeah. And it was amazing. And so, like I said, you know, I got to a point where I had 50, 60 bikes at home. And I thought, you know what, we need to, you know, if we're ever going to kind of get more legitimate and expand the amount of people that we can reach with this, and you know, just get more people involved, we need to be more. We got to find a place. Right. And so I forget how I end up. So I've been doing the air conditioner repairs for Steve Widmyer, the mayor here in Coeur d'Alene, for a while. And we were friends on Facebook, and so I had posted something on Facebook and about, you know, in need of. And so one day I'm standing down here at one of the coffee shops downtown, Calypso's, I think it was. And it was Calypso's. And so I'm standing in line with my wife. We're ordering a couple of cups of coffee. It was kind of our Saturday morning thing, pedal the bikes downtown. And so as we walk in, I kind of made a mental note, hey, that's Steve Widmyer, and sitting over there on the couch. And so we, you know, ordered our coffee, and so I'm standing there in line, and I feel someone, you know, poke me in the back. I turn around, and Steve is standing there, and he says, hey, he says, I understand you're in need of some space to, you know, to get for the bicycle stuff. And so, and so it's funny because and people that don't really know what it is, bicycle stuff, you know, stuff. And so anyway, and I said, man, if you were aware of a place, I would be so thankful. And so he writes an address on a piece of paper, and he says, go take a look at this thing here. And so I get my coffee, and I got my address on my sticky note stuck to my palm, you know, and normally we sit down, we sip our coffee, we read the paper a little bit. Yeah. I was like, we gotta go. And so anyway, so we took off up the street, and here was this building. I always tell everybody, it looks like, it did then, it still does, like a Russian gulag, you know. It's a cinder block building. It's 1950s era, 40s era, you know. It is industrial and aging industrial, you know. Yeah. And so I'm looking at this building. Well, this building must be 50,000 square feet. I mean, it's as big as a retail store. Yeah. And, you know, in my head, I'm like, you know, another, oh, you know, another moment like that. And so
Jamie's like, this is like taking everything out of my backyard.
all she can see is the yard emptied out. Yeah. So I called Steve back. I was like, are you kidding me? You know, and he's like, whoa. He says, not the whole building. He says, but some space in there. Somewhere we can find some space in there for you. So I was like, okay, great. So then it was, I hadn't even been inside yet, you know, and it was going to be a few days before I could, because the guy with the keys, you know, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, so I didn't sleep for 2 days, you know, just thinking of the wonders that could go on inside of that space. And so we got in. I met some fantastic people at the city, you know, Bill Greenwood, the guy that runs the parks department.
Yeah.
That's who actually occupies the space. He's the one that actually gave up some of space that would have been his.
Wow.
To allow me to go in there and do that. And anyway, so we got in, we got set up, and we were almost too big for this place, like almost immediately. I mean, as soon as hey Mark, anyway, as soon as I just saw his head go past the window, but as soon as we got in and got set up, I mean, and I made a couple of phone calls and said, okay, people, we're here. Here's our plans. Here's our goals. Here's what we want to do. And it was an avalanche. I mean, it was like you know, the cornice broke off and the avalanche fell. And so it got really busy, really fast. And
what does that mean when you say really busy, really fast? When people learned that you had bikes, were they coming to you with just requests for a group? Like, what is?
Well, so what we did was you know, for me, I would give a bike to everyone, you know, if I had enough.
Yeah.
But you know, when you realize that there's a finite amount of material and there's a finite amount of time and there's a, you know, and so as much as I'd love to put every human being on the face of the earth on a bicycle, it's not possible.
Right.
And so, but I quickly formed a relationship with the Boys and Girls Club, because I knew that those guys would work with the families, the same people that I wanted to reach. They already had an inroad with them, you know.
Yeah.
So the Boys and Girls Club was early connection. I met a guy who was through Boys and Girls Club. I met a man who was a counselor in the Coeur d'Alene school system. I don't think he works for him anymore. Anyway, his name is Ron Truman. Fantastic guy, friends to this day. But Ron got me into Lakes Middle School, which was at that time, you know, the Boys and Girls Club wasn't right next door to Lakes Middle School. It was it came in later. Oh, right. But anyway, so and from Lakes Middle School, I connected to Bryan Elementary, and then Winton, and then Bora, and then I met a guy, James Kerb, fantastic human being, who works in the Coeur d'Alene School District with the kids that are. I think this blows many people's minds when they hear this, that the Coeur d'Alene School District kind of watches out for and tracks up to 400 kids in the school system who are homeless.
Wow.
And that boggled my mind.
Yeah. Anyway,
and so through James and through Ron and through the Boys and Girls Club and through and then each one of these people connects me to somebody else. So I got connected to Union Gospel Mission, to the Women's Center, and so I've given dozens of bikes to Union Gospel Mission, St. Vinny's, transitional housing. Oh gosh, I mean, and so really, the VFW. There's a gal by the name of Cassandra that works with the military families, and you know, and so you develop these, you make a list, you know, and CASA, that's the in fact I've had a dozen CASA reps, and I kind of actively engage with about a half a dozen CASA reps on a regular basis. And court-appointed special advocates. So these are kids that are in foster care whose lives are turned upside down by something that
Yeah.
their parents did probably, but something to do with the legal system, and
Right.
and I don't know, the list goes on.
Yeah.
And so the first year when I first started this from home, I probably was doing 5 to 10 bikes a year. The first year that we moved into the building and got the nonprofit off of the ground, I think we did 35 bikes that year, and I thought, well, that's crazy, that's good.
Yeah.
And the second year we doubled it and we did 70.
Wow.
The third year we did about 130 or 140, and every year it got to be more and more. And so this past year we gave almost 180 bikes away just at Christmas.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, it was a huge year. Yeah, and so but with COVID and all the things that were going on, people were home more because a lot of people were laid off and losing their jobs, and some people were doing okay on unemployment, some people weren't, but with more time at home, what do you got to get outside, you got to do something, you got to be active, and so what do you do, and so bicycles was just, it was a perfect. So last year was our biggest year ever, and so last year was the sixth year, yeah. And so last year we moved more than 500 bicycles.
Wow.
Through the co-op last year.
Well, and that means, when a bike comes to you, it's quite often you need to do some significant work to it for actually, right? You're saving bikes, which I know Mark is passionate about. It's you're not only giving bikes to people that need them, but you're saving bikes that need a little bit of work that people have left on the side of the road or whatever.
Well,
right?
so here's what, when we started off to do this, we wanted to give bikes. But then when you're dealing with the volume of bikes, like I said, if I had 50 bikes in the backyard, you start going, wow, what am I going to do with all this stuff? And a lot of times, it takes 2 bikes, maybe 3 bikes to build one good bike, because like you said, they come in complete disrepair. It's very, probably 10% of the stuff that comes into the shop comes in a state that we call a dust off, where really all you got to do is kind of clean them up good, go through all the safety stuff and make sure they work right, lube things that move, and and it's a bike again, but most of the time they come in flat tires, and they've been on flat tires for a long time, and so the tubes are rotten. So you're usually replacing tires, you're replacing tubes. If they were allowed to sit out in the weather for a long time, the sun eats up anything plastic that ultraviolet, and so the seats are gone, grips and handlebars, anything that's made out of plastic or rubber is gone. And so again, sometimes it takes 3 bikes to build one good bike, and so and we don't like to see stuff going to landfill. We got a lot of problems going on in this global warming is an issue. We need to, fossil fuels. Anyway, let's don't go down the politics road, I guess. But it's a thing, and bicycles and bicycles are part of the solution. And throwing more garbage in the landfill, is also not a part of the solution. And so, when a bike comes to us, we immediately assess it for, is it going to be a bike again? And if it is, then it gets treated one way. If it's not going to be a bike again, then it gets put in a different row, and that's the row that gets stripped out. And so what we'll do is we'll pull anything that's salvageable and usable off. We'll put it in the appropriate box or bin, and the stuff that's not usable is, we try to determine, okay, is it garbage? Can we find another use for it? And so when you strip all the stuff off of a bicycle, I think a lot of people think when you take a bicycle to the landfill that it's recyclable, but when you take a bicycle to the landfill, they don't do what's necessary to make it recyclable. When a bike that goes to the landfill gets buried in a hole in the ground, just like household garbage. In order for something to get recycled properly, you have to strip all the rubber, the plastic, anything that's not metal off of it. And so that's part of the process. So when we strip a bike down, we strip it down to the bare frame, And if it's something cool that someone might want to rebuild again, then we save it. If it's something that's just recyclable material, then it goes into a big bin. And when the bin is full, we got a trailer, and when the trailer's full, we hook onto it, we drag it down to the recycler. There's no money right now in recycling, but we do it because it's a responsible thing to do. Because again, we just don't want to see it in the, last year we took over 3,000 pounds of recyclable material to the recycler. That would have been garbage if we would have been trash buried in the landfill if we didn't do what we do. So we pull the tires off, and if the tires are okay to be used again, and we save them so we can reuse them. We pull the inner tubes out. I know you had Jason Lauritsen on a month ago or so, and so we saved the tubes for Jason. And every time we get about 50, 60 pounds of tubes, he comes and picks them up, and he makes backpacks and belts and wallets, and he does all the fantastic stuff that he does with all the the trash that gets thrown away, and then we retail some of Jason's stuff in the shop. Well, I say retail, he gives all the proceeds to us, so awesome. When you buy one of those bags that Jason made out of old inner tubes from the shop, the proceeds stay in the shop, and then, like I said, derailleurs and brake levers, that stuff you can use those again and again, so we save them. Cables and cable housing and sleeves and stuff like that those are just garbage, unfortunately, but we throw away, we really, really actively try to find another use or a different use. The art community loves old chains, and they love sprockets, and they love all kinds of stuff. And some of the guys actually will come in and they like the old bike frames are made out of steel. Well, most of this new stuff is made out of aluminum, but the old steel stuff, these guys like to cut them and bend them and weld them and build stuff. So I've given a bunch of bike frames away to people that I know have made sculpture out of them. Nice. I've got a guy that comes in. In fact, he was in just a few days ago, and so about once a month he comes in and he buys old sprockets and he buys old chains. And I've never seen his stuff in person, but I've seen photos of the stuff that he makes out of them. It's super cool. Nice.
Is he local then as well?
He's local. Yeah. Cool. Most of these folks are, within 50 miles of here. But, the crazy thing is people want to do good, and they want to be part of something that's doing something good, or the solution, to something. And so I get bicycles. I've had bicycles brought to us from 50, 60 miles away that people have just loaded them up and said, I didn't want these. I don't want to see them go in the garbage. I don't want to see them go to the dump. And they'll drive, 50, 60, they're driving $25 worth of gas out of their car to get, these bikes to you. Yeah. I don't know. We've had some emotional things, that sometimes the kids come in, and especially a kid that, was in a situation where, again, some of these kids have no hope that they're going to have a bike. And when they get one, they cry, and their moms cry. And it's how you're doing, the right thing. And,
I can't even imagine, because it's a bike. I mean, it's freedom for people, right? Oh, for sure. Like, in so many ways, whether it's, for getting around, but for being able to get to work, being able to get to school, just having for sure. Grocery store. It's huge.
Well, we're fortunate that for me anyway, a bicycle is I was going to say a luxury. For me, it's a necessity, because I would die without my bicycle. But for a lot of people, like for people like me, I've got cars outside, so I can. So a bike for me is a choice, and a bike for a lot of people is a choice. Yes. But for many people, a bicycle is not a choice. It's a necessity. Right. And I see those guys come into the shop all the time too. And so, I've got through the VFW and a couple other folks. I work a lot with veterans, homeless veterans. There's a lot of, you look around a city like Coeur d'Alene, and there's abundance. I mean, there's a lot of abundance, but at the same time, and kind of out of view, unless you're in a position where you as a tourist, just driving through this town, you see all the lovely everything, but you don't really see, what's going on underneath, And so for me, we've been in the same spot now for we outgrew the other space. Now it's storage.
Right.
And so we've moved into a new location. So we're renting a space from the First Baptist Church here in town. They've got a space on 5th Street, so 5 blocks off of Sherman Ave.
Right.
So it's real close to all the cool stuff that's going on. But at the same time, like I said, it's the alley behind the church is it's a footpath for like homeless people that are going from 2nd Street Commons, where they help provide them with meals, to other facilities in town that are providing stuff. St. Luke's is right next door to First Baptist Church, and they have stuff going on over there to help the homeless community. And so they walk past, and they know that we're there, and they know what we do. And so I have a dozen conversations a week with people that are really in some pretty dire situations. Again, we won't get into all that, because some of them are in situations of their own making, and some of them have mental health issues. Some of them have, and so it's anyway. And for me, I don't try to judge, who does. That's not for me, They if they come in and they say, I need help, I figure out how to help them. It's just that simple. And so
I think we're all like one decision, one bad choice away from being homeless, or one like medical bill, like something catastrophic could happen to any one of us. Like, who are we to judge, right? Like, who are we to judge? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So like I said, they come in and they need help, and I will say this, that I think when you're an adult, by the time you reach adulthood, you realize that things in this world cost. And so a kid comes in, I don't if a kid needs a bike, then a kid gets a bike, I work the details out with the parents, but when these guys come through, I have jobs to be done, or if they want to come in and pick a bike out of the menagerie and take the time to build it, come back for a couple of days in a row, maybe sometimes 3 days it takes to pull one of these old things, out of the pile and get it up and clean it off and just see what you're working with, and take another bike apart and use the parts to build. So if you're going to put that kind of time into building yourself a bike, when you're done, you get to have it, and so you can come in and you can build yourself a bicycle. If you don't want to do that, then you can come in and talk to me about pushing a broom around for a couple hours, or helping me, clean stuff up, or whatever the case is. I'm working right now on a program where for people that are, nonviolent offenders that are getting out of jail, can come to me and get a bicycle, and they've got to do a certain amount of community service.
Right.
But it doesn't all have to be done at the shop. We were kind of making up a form where they can go put in 8 hours over here at this program and get 8 hours there, and then they can come see me and do 8 hours over here, and so by the time you get, I don't know, 24 hours, whatever that someone else has decided, whether the Department of Corrections or somebody has decided what that is, but so there's a certain amount of hours that they got to put in, and I'm one of a handful of organizations where they can come in and earn those hours. And if they so wish, they can bring me a certificate that says, here's all my hours, and in exchange for that, they get a bicycle, So,
nice.
Because, when you get out of a situation where you've been incarcerated, they don't just go, bye, see, you're done. It's, you got parole officers, you got places you got to be, and you've got, they're doing, drug testing, all the things that come along with making a mistake like that. And it's pretty difficult when you've had your driving privileges taken away to get to all these places. How do you do it? So even if you did apply for a job online and get it, well, now you got to show up physically. So
right.
You got to be able to get there. And so if you can't drive, then you're either going to take public transit, which we won't even go into that discussion on this right now. This is something for you and I to talk about. But anyway, because public transit in this town leaves a lot to be desired.
Right.
And so a bicycle is, you said it earlier, it's freedom. It's your own vehicle to get you to the things that you need to do, in kind of in your own time frame,
well, let's
that's really what
because the collective, I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit there. You're given bikes, but then you also offer a lot more. You offer skills for people to then be able to maintain those bikes, to empower themselves into, like, it's not a car where you're like, oh, I need to go to the mechanic. There's no way I can figure this out by myself, but you're teaching safety. Do you want to talk a little bit more about
we offer that to anybody who comes through the door. We're open Tuesday through Saturday right now from noon to 6. And so anybody who comes through the door during those hours and just says, hey, I'd like to be more comfortable with working on my bike, we'll give you a class, stop what we're doing. And if you brought your own bike, we'll put your bike on the stand and we'll show you. If you didn't, then there's 100 bikes in the building that we can use as props. And I had a whole family that came in on Saturday. They had bought bikes from the co-op. So that's the other thing we do. We offer affordable bikes for sale. So we don't just give them all away. We learned from, don't forget we were talking about training, but I wanted to hit on something. Normally we take, on top of taking in a lot of bike donations, we probably get 400 or 500 bikes a year donated to us. We got cash as well. We got rent to pay, we got to buy parts, we got, anyway, you know what cash is spent on, but anyway. And so last year with COVID and with people not being able to have, their big gatherings and the things that they would normally do to generate the money that they give, nobody was able to do that. And so a lot of these bigger charitable organizations that support the little guys like me weren't able to do that. And so we found out, that the country got shut down in middle of March. And so by middle of May, I was getting emails on a regular basis saying, hey, we're not going to be able to help you financially this year, but good luck, and so we had to focus on sales more than ever before. But with the sales, we were able to, we took care of it. We stayed, we kept afloat. In fact, when all the retailers and the bike shops ran out of bicycles, we were the only place in town that still had bikes. And part of the reason why we moved so many, I think, last year. But the other thing was because there's so many people out there that already have a bicycle.
Yes.
That maybe they didn't ride them very much before, but now they're out there dusting these things off, and they're going, oh, well, it needs a little something. Well, if you got a bike that's 30 years old, you can take that bike to a bike shop and put a bunch of brand new parts on a 30-year-old bike, or you can come to us where we've probably got another bike exactly like your bike somewhere in the building.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of fixing your vintage bike with vintage parts, and where the other, when the shops that retail new parts and new bikes couldn't get any inventory because it wasn't coming, we never suffered with inventory shortages. We never suffered with issues with parts. And by September and October of last year, we actually had the bike shops calling us
Oh,
and saying, hey, I don't suppose you've got a, a good clean, derailleur, because we've been waiting for one for 3 months. We can't get it.
yeah.
And we got a customer that wants their bike, really bad. Waited all summer to ride it, and summers, and so anyway, so we were actually given parts, like I said, good clean parts to some of the bike shops in town to repair bikes that they had, on the stands that have been, that had been there for months waiting for parts that probably weren't showing up. And so, and the thing with us is, when you bring an old bike to us, you kind of know that probably going to get a good used part put back on it. Right. You don't expect a new part, right. You don't. And so it's it was a little easier for us to, and I think there's less of an expectation from people when they come to us than there is when you go to a bike shop. You walk into a place like that, you expect brand new parts. Right. There's some expectation there, and they don't expect that out of us. So it's a little less stressful.
But at the same time, like you're saying, these pieces, unless you wrecked your bike hardcore, they're not. And the older pieces that you're finding, they're still like clean them up, get them functional, and they work just as great, right?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is the thing with bikes that I think is disappointing is that they don't get ridden enough. A lot of people, by the time a bike, gets disposed of or gotten rid of, because probably been sitting in the corner of the garage for 4 years and the tires are flat, but there's no wear on it. There's no, it just, they finally got tired of moving it from one corner to the other, so you're talking about stuff that has low miles on it. Some of them come in, they're pretty beat up, but I tell you, I think the stuff, the old Schwinn stuff and the Sears and J.C. Penney's and Montgomery Ward's. It's funny when I say Montgomery Ward's and people go, "What's a Montgomery Ward's?" But anyway, the bikes in those eras, 60s, 70s, even into the 80s, were just, the quality was amazing. And so when you find those old bikes, they may have a layer of rust on them, but below the surface, man, they are.
Well, they're like old cars too. They have so much character, and
absolutely
all of the bikes in our garage, which there's probably at least 8, like they're all just full of character, and half of them are a little rustier, but that's the fun. Like that's the beauty in those ones where like these were well crafted pieces of art, right?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't respect Mark if he didn't have at least 8 bikes in his garage. So.
Right, and I have to talk this way about bikes because I've just been trained by my husband. This is
exactly. Yeah.
But it is so fun, and it's
my wife wasn't really a bike person as much as me, and it took me a while to get her on board, and I think at this point she's a full-on hoarder. So it's
well, you need your beach cruiser, you need your road bike, you need your other bike.
Absolutely, yeah. So
there's so many options, and you need colors.
So absolutely, yeah. But so we were talking earlier about training, and so I had a family that came in, I don't know, 6 weeks ago and bought 4 bikes, and they came in on Saturday and they were pushing one of them with a flat tire, and so the guy comes in, he says, "I just want to let you know we love the bikes, we love them, but we got a flat tire," and he says, "and I remembered," he says, "we could have took it somewhere and got the tire fixed," he says, or the tube fixed, he says, "but I remember when we bought them that you told us that you would teach us how to do stuff ourselves, and so we want to take you up on that."
Yeah.
So as a husband, a wife, and 2 kids, and we did it right there in the floor of the shop, and I said, "Look, we can put it on the stand, and I can show you how we do it every day in the shop. But here's what I think I should do for you. If you guys don't have a repair stand at home, and honestly, if you get a flat, you might be out on the side of the trail somewhere. Right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how to do this for yourself if you were out, up on the Centennial Trail or up on the, somewhere. And so we turned the bike upside down with the wheels up, right in the floor of the shop.
Yeah.
And everybody got in close, and I had them come in and, and do things and, get their hands on the bike. And I spent, 25 minutes there with the four of them, teaching them how to take, it's the back wheel too. So it's a little more difficult, front wheel's pretty easy. The back wheel, you're dealing with the chain and the derailleur and getting it out of the, it had V brakes. And so you're getting the tire out from between the brake shoes. And I showed them a couple of little shortcuts that people that do this all the time, know how to do. And so I actually put the new tube in the tire, and then I let them put the tire back on the bike. And they had a lot of fun. It was a chuckle. I mean, we just, we just kind of laughed. And by the time they left, I looked at all of them and I said, you guys, do you feel comfortable, that you could do this on your own? And every one of them was like, yeah, I think I could. And so I handed them a couple of the tire levers, the little plastic.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I used to use screwdrivers as a tire lever. Don't do that, because you poke holes in the tubes. And so I didn't know such a thing existed, but anyway, so a lot of times when people donate bikes, they come in and they'll have a bag hanging under the seat, or hanging off a handlebar. And I always love to get in those things, and because they always leave goodies in there, and so sometimes it's, stale chewing gum, sometimes it's tools, and
Yeah.
so we got a drawer at the shop that probably has 40 or 50 tire levers in it.
Yeah.
And so for the people that want to learn and take the time to learn how to do it, then I'll throw a couple of tire levers at them and go, here, you need to build a kit. Usually what I do is I send them up to the Trek shop, because Trek has any bike shop in town, honestly, has a kit that you can buy that's just that's a repair kit. And I would say, go you can build one yourself, but if you don't want to take the time to do that, you can buy one for about $35, and it comes usually with a spare tube and one of those tools that has all the Allen wrenches and the screwdrivers and everything.
Right.
And a couple of tire levers and a patch kit usually. And so like I said, for about $35, you can get a good kit that has everything that you need. And so, if you're a family, well, like if you and Mark and the youngster decided to go take a ride somewhere, somebody should have a repair kit with them,
right.
And
yeah,
usually when I ride with a group of people, they expect me to have it. So, but anyway, and I usually do.
Yeah.
We giggle about this because when I don't know how we ended up in Boise without a repair kit. And I swear, I feel like there was some divine intervention of some kind, because I was meant to go to Boise Bicycle Project that weekend. If I hadn't, I can't say that we would be here doing what we're doing. I mean, it was, so there's a reason that I was meant to have that aha moment at that time. And so I'm glad I forgot the repair kit.
No, I love it. Well, and so many cities, because I think Moscow has one, right? I know Salt Lake.
Well, they did.
Portland.
I got to confirm this, but someone told me that they think that they might have folded up. So I got to confirm that. I'm not 100% sure, but last week someone told me that they thought that the one in Moscow may have gone away. That'd be disappointing if it was true.
Would be, yeah. I mean, last year was a hard year for everyone, so I hope that wasn't the case. And then, so you do the trainings, and then you also do safety, right? Which I think for the luxury riders, we have a lot of gorgeous trails around here, right? But for people that need to just get around town, like there's certain parts of town that is more bicycle friendly than other parts of town. You offer safety. Is that are those scheduled classes, or how does that work?
So I am a League of American Bicyclists certified. So there's an organization headquartered in Washington, D.C. and it's called the League of American Bicyclists. And these guys do training all over the country, and so it's a pretty intense process. There's like 4 classes that you got to go through. You have to ride in the street with an instructor. They teach you how to train other people to ride in the street. So I'm one here in North Idaho. I think there's one in Spokane, and then I think there was 3 in North Idaho, and honestly, I think I'm the only one left right now that still has my certification up to date. There's a couple of them that were in the past but I think their certification has expired. Currently in North Idaho, I am the only one that's current with my certification. And then, like I said, I think there was 2 or 3 in Spokane, and I think one person is currently current on their certification. I think the other 2 have let their stuff lapse, and so, but it entails, riding in the street. I'm also on the City of Coeur d'Alene's Pedestrian Bicycle Advisory Committee, and so we kind of get to have a little bit of input. Not enough. It's frustrating to me, but anyway, a little bit of input on policy, right, and a little bit of input on where bike lanes go and infrastructure type stuff. Anyway, it's government, so right, of course, right, it's frustrating, but it's if I wasn't on the committee, I wouldn't have any influence over it. So it's, I guess you gotta, you take your battles and where you can. And
because I mean, a couple of basics of just, even if you're not on a trail, I mean, you drive. I've seen people driving up 3rd, like against the one-way traffic.
The thing with a bicycle is, people kind of you can almost do anything on a bike that you can do on foot, and so a lot of people feel safer on the sidewalk. Statistically, the sidewalk is the most dangerous place that you can ride your bike. Most accidents between cars and bicycles occur in, it's going to boggle your mind, parking lots and sidewalks. And part of it, I guess, is because, like in a parking lot, everybody's kind of disarmed a little bit, because you should be anyway moving at less than street traffic speed. Although, some of those big parking lots, I suppose you can get up to 25 miles an hour in a Walmart parking lot, but and so I mean, nobody's really paying attention, and so like with a bicycle, where bikes and cars have problems is at intersections, because cars pull up. Think about it when you drive. When you pull up to an intersection, do you stop behind the sidewalk, or do you go past the sidewalk right out to the curb?
Right, yeah.
And so for and the other thing is when you're in a car, you're really looking for other cars, and you're looking for them out in the travel lane. You're not looking for something that's moving at the speed of a bicycle, coming right at you. They're going to hit you right about the mirror on your door, and so part of it is, I don't believe at all in victim shaming, or all the things that happen when cars conflict with bikes. I think the person that's in the most deadly weapon has more responsibility, but I do think that everybody has their own responsibility to look out for themselves.
Right, for sure.
So if you're on a sidewalk doing 15, 20 miles an hour, and a car is coming into an intersection where they're not expecting something moving at the speed of a bicycle to just bolt out in front of them. Right. There's some blame to be laid on everybody in that scenario, and too often we blame it all on the cyclist, and the car mysteriously gets a pass, you know. So
well, we also live in a very car-centric city, more so than a lot of places, right? So it's and a place that has very, very large trucks everywhere. So they're as small people on bikes, it's it's just something that's not commonplace, and not, yeah, it's not on their radar, I guess. So having that.
Well, and we're driving distracted. I mean, you know, the
Right.
guy on the bike might have a headphones in and music playing, and the guy in the truck, you know, very well might be looking at his phone instead of looking out the windshield, you know. And so, you know, we're distracted, you know, and really when you're on a bike moving around in traffic, you should be alert and aware. When you're certainly when you're in a vehicle and you're out driving around, you should be alert and aware. So put all the distractions aside, 2 hands on the steering wheel, looking out the windows. And that's not what we're doing. You know, we're fiddling with the knobs on the stereo, or we're
drinking our coffee,
looking at your cell phone. We spend too much time looking at cell phones, you know. So
no, for sure.
at any rate.
Yeah, well, I think we could talk bikes all day long, but I'm curious, what is your vision for the collective? That's one question. Is there a collective that inspires you, that you're kind of looking at, that inspires your vision? And how can people support you? I mean, you're a nonprofit. Like, how can this community get behind what you're doing and support? And
my vision for the collective is would be continue to focus on the less fortunate in the community and continue to make bikes available for free if needed, affordably, to teach anyone and everyone that wants to how to take care of their own bike, how to do their own repairs if they want to. The thing with a bicycle is it can be, depending on your situation. I mean, there are people that have gotten rid of their cars and now commute, you know, by bicycle. And so, you know, I think there was a study done a few years ago that said that, you know, typically it costs about $10,000 a year to own a car. That's if you are making payments or whatever. If you maybe you own a car and you're just, you know, doing the maintenance and the upkeep and the stuff on a car you own, it's still somewhere around $5,500 to $6,000 a year to own a car. So imagine if you're someone who's living on a fixed income or a tight budget, if you could all of a sudden save $6,000 a year, you know, what would that mean to you? And so, you know, for me, I want to continue to focus on infrastructure in the streets that makes it easier for people on bikes to get around. I want to focus on putting as many people as possible on a bike. Sometimes I feel like the only way that we're going to get anything changed is through conflict, and so we need more bikes on the street to you know, to make that happen. So well,
I think bikes too offer this. Yes, there's the very like functional piece of it, but in our society that's so fast paced, I mean, we've got an obesity epidemic. We've got more diabetes, we've got more health issues than ever. Like, to be able to ride a bike, to slow yourself down, to like give yourself a mindful moment, to give yourself some exercise, which is very low impact. Like, there's so many benefits of a bike beyond just the functional getting from A to B, right?
There's a handful of studies that talk about the mental health piece of exercise in general, but of a bicycle. There's something about the repetitive the movement of your feet and the whole package of the operation of a bicycle. And so you take a situation that we're all currently still living in, a situation like this COVID-19, and where we're seeing our friends less regularly, we're staying home a lot more than we ever were. There's a lot of stress that comes along with that. There's depression, there's all these things. And so you got a tool, something as simple and as inexpensive as a bicycle that can, just like you said, the exercise, the fresh air, the outside, the seeing what's, you pedaling through your community, seeing what's going on in your neighborhood, the mental health piece that goes along with it, the cost savings in especially if you're someone that lost your job, and now most of those people are coming to the end of the unemployment cycle. We're talking a year, and so and if you haven't gone back to work, or you're back to work on a limited basis, if you can pedal a bike to the grocery store and save having to get in the car and turn that key and burn up that gas that you might need to get to work. Maybe you're not thinking, okay, I'm going to ride my bike to work because it's 10 miles away, but you might be thinking, well, gosh, the grocery store is a mile away.
Right.
I don't have to burn my gas, my work gas, to pedal over to the grocery store and get a few things. And so, I don't know. There's some people that look at a bike and see a toy.
Right.
I look at a bike and I see a tool.
And I look across the globe too, and you look at very established countries, and they have parking garages for bikes. And
exactly.
How many more bikes can you fit in a parking garage than cars? And we're taking up all of our land, trying to figure out how to deal with these gigantic vehicles that are getting more gigantic.
And so you got, you go to malls are dying anyway, but you go to some retail establishments, and you're absolutely right. How many acres, thousands, millions of acres of land in this country and around the world have we covered over with black asphalt? And what happens to the black asphalt when the sun shines? It gets hot. And so again, we're talking about all these, there's just so many things that we're doing. It's our own fault,
Right.
But there are things that you can do. And so there's some people that aren't going to do anything. It's not that they don't care. It's just that I don't know what I can do, and I'm not going to try. And there's some people that are going to go, okay, I can do a little bit. And if a whole bunch of us decided to do just a little bit, then it turns into a thing. And so the collective moving forward, what we really need is we need your old bikes. We need to keep them out of the garbage and keep them out of the landfill. They need to be ridden. We need to get more people moving. We need to get more people on these bikes. So we need your bikes. We need you to tell people, talk to people. If we touch your life in some way, tell somebody about it, and if you need a bike or you need some help, come see us, but really with any nonprofit or any organization everywhere, money, it's money. So like I said, we figured out that we can keep where we're at. We can kind of keep the status that we've, station keeping, where we're at, with what we've got. But if we want to expand, if we want to move forward, if we want to be able to help more, it takes money. So
let's talk about your event coming up, because that'll be a fun way for if people are curious to come and check you out. And
it's funny. So we've been in the space. We've been established now. So we actually started out. There was another group in town that Jamie and I were a part of called Bike CDA. Okay. And Bike CDA was this fellow by the name of John Kelly, retired City of Coeur d'Alene police officer, worked in the traffic unit for a long time, and so he got to see the aftermath of poor, in-street design for cycling. He was the guy out there cleaning up the mess after a cyclist in a car got tangled up, or a car and a pedestrian. And so he came into it from the point of view of wanting to work on street design and stuff like that. And so Jamie and I came in as these in-street riders who wanted to see things improve. And I was already involved in, like I said, out of the back of my shop van, I was already giving bikes away to to less privileged kids in town, and so and there was a couple other folks. There was half a dozen other folks that were a part of that early organization. That I don't know, life happens, and so it kind of stalled, and we left the organization. They kind of had a direction that we wanted to go in, and I personally still wanted to just focus on the co-op stuff, and I was a little frustrated. I didn't feel like it was moving in that direction fast enough, and so I went over and started the LCBC, and then after I don't know 2.5 years of the two organizations kind of working separately, side by side separately, John gives me a call and says, I think we're gonna pack this in. What do you think? And so we actually about 2 years ago we merged them both together.
Okay.
And which is how we ended up in the church basement, and so I was able to kind of reconnect with some connections that I had made when I was working over there. Anyway, it was a good mashup, and it continues to be. John and I are John's going with me in a couple of weeks up to a bike rodeo up in Spirit Lake that we helped the Spirit Lake Police Department with for the kids in the Lakeland School District.
Yeah.
And then you said our event, so we've got an event May 22nd. It's a Saturday. Right. I think we're doing it from 11 to 4.
Okay.
And it's an open house for us. And we finally got we've been working on some stuff. Mark can tell you about it, but we've been working on some membership type stuff where you come in, you make a donation of like $60. We're calling it a membership, and with that membership you get access to things. You get there's 1 day a week that you'll come in and have access to the shop, and anytime you want to, you can come in and get a discount on parts out of the parts bins, stuff like that. And so we're doing this. It's a membership drive, but it's crazy because for as long as we've been doing this, and so we've given away about 2,000 bicycles in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
One of the great partnerships that I missed earlier when I was naming them off is Kootenai Health.
Oh.
I met Kootenai Health. I got a thorough chastising from a person at Kootenai Health. I got this nurse called me up. She was running a program at the time called Safe Kids of Kootenai County, Safe Kids. And she calls me up and she says, "Hey, I heard you're giving a bunch of bicycles away. Are you giving away helmets with these bikes?" And I was like, "Man, we don't have the budget for that. I'm sorry." And so she says, "You realize," anyway. And so I listened, and so anyway, so I went and I met her in person. We had a great conversation. One thing led to another, and Kootenai Health, gosh, they must have given me, I don't know, 400 or 500 helmets.
Wow.
And in fact, she showed up like 2 weeks ago, I think, and dropped off 75 more.
Wow.
And her name's Wendy, and Wendy Ferguson. And anyway, she works over at Kootenai Health, and Kootenai Health has a great program over there where it's their injury prevention program, and so they do car seats, they do life preservers, they do bicycle helmets, they do like skateboard helmets.
Yeah.
And they really, and they make this stuff available for nothing. And so they bring them to me, and so I'm able to, when a young person that gets a free bike, obviously if they can't afford a bike, they can't afford a helmet, and so you can get a free bike and you get a free helmet. Anyway, it's a great partnership. I appreciate it so much.
Oh yeah.
And but yeah, like I said, so our event that's coming up is it's an open house, and because so many people come in and they go, "I didn't even know you guys were here." I hear this every single day, and it's like, again, 2,000 bikes have gone out of the building. How has nobody heard about us? And so we're trying to do something to increase awareness that we're there, what we're doing, that
Well, you have
we're,
something to offer for everyone. Like you're giving,
absolutely.
like your purpose is to reach people that really need them. But like you were
Sure.
saying, like anyone with plenty of money could walk in there and be like, hey, it doesn't make sense for me to buy a full cost bike. How can
Sure,
I
sure.
give it to you and support your purpose and get
Well,
training from you?
yeah,
And
sure. And some people are going, you know what? I haven't ridden a bike in 30 years.
yeah.
I'm not even sure that I can or even want to do
Yeah.
this. And so I don't want to go spend $500 or $600 on a bike at a brand new bike. And so I think I'll try this, and a lot of times I'll just tell them, because right now I think every morning I go down and I push. We usually got anywhere from 10 to 20 bikes that are ready to ride, all the time.
Right.
And so when I open up at noon, I just push them all outside in the bike rack, and I run a cable through them. And I never used to put the cable in, but I actually had a couple of them last summer just right away. And so I run a lock through. But if you come in and go, look, I haven't ridden the bike in years, I'm not even sure I still can. I'll just go out and unlock them and go, hey, ride any one you want to, ride every single one of them if you want to.
Yeah.
Take them over here in the church parking lot. There's no traffic. It's flat, and just have a ball, And so I get people that, here's a helmet.
Right.
And,
well, and it's silly, but I think of it almost like getting your dog from the animal shelter or the Humane Society. Like you
sure.
find like the bike that is you, that is like, you get to dig it out. It's that much more meaningful. You're supporting an awesome cause. Like
it's funny because the guys down at the shop call me the bike whisperer because
yes.
I kind of have this innate ability of pairing the right person with the right bike.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of times that people were really persistent that they wanted a certain bike, and I got to be honest with you, there was 2 or 3 times just in the last couple of months that people really persistent. I want this one. This is the one, and they take it, and every single time they've come back and said, "Is the one that you told me I should have still here?" Because I think So
yeah.
Anyway, but it's a lot of fun helping people find the one. I just tell them, I said, look, there's 15 bikes out there in the rack. Ride every one of them until one of them talks to you, and I promise you, one of them will. One of them's going to say, "Hey, we're meant to be together." And so, and they do. They'll just, they'll come back. Oh, it's not that one. I kind of like this one, but I'm going to try another one. And anyway, so they do. They just ride them around and around, and until something just says, it's me and you, and they find the one. And I'm right now we're getting more kind of like 80s vintage kind of stuff in, steel frames. They're a little heavier mechanically. They're super solid. It's kind of like driving a big old Cadillac. They're big, comfortable. I'm sure they're a little lighter or heavier and not quite as fast as that little sports car, but they're going to get you there, and they're going to get you there comfortably. And I find that we, have to, sometimes we got to do a little bit of change up types, take the curvy bars off and put straight bars on. Anyway, there's all kinds of ways that we can, make them more interesting and make them feel like a more modern bike.
Sure. And for your fit, right? You can put baskets on the front and the back, and you can get a horn, or you can get a bell, or you can you can accessorize that to the T.
Bolt on all kinds of stuff. But anyway, so like I said, if you for people that see this in time to to come to the event, it's May 22nd. It's from 11 to 4. We're going to set up the bike rodeo. So we've got a kit that we've put together over the years. That's cones. It's kind of an obstacle course. There's we built a couple of little. We got this. It's called a seesaw, and so it looks like a ramp. So the kids always try to ride it and jump over it, but when you get past the middle point, it tips down. Anyway, so you don't catch any air. But it's safe, but it's fun. We hear that thing all day long. Kerslam, kerslam, smack, smack. When the thing hits the ground. By the end of the day, you're tired of hearing it, but it's a lot of fun. The kids love it. I think we're gonna do. I talked to the ice cream man on Saturday, and so the ice cream man's gonna show up. I forget what else. I'm not involved in all of the planning. There's 2-3 other people that everybody has their own part that they're doing, so I'm not really aware of everyone's part. But
no, that'll be fun. And people, it's near your location, right? It's just in your parking lot right there.
In the parking lot next to the church, and so we really want to get as many people as want to come walk inside, because in fact, I'm not even sure you've ever been inside.
I haven't. Right? I'm just feeling embarrassed. I'm like, I've got to get down there ASAP.
But you know what? You definitely walk in, and at some point you're going to say, wow.
I can't wait.
When you walk in the room, there's kind of a hallway that you walk down. There's nothing really going on, kind of stark white walls, until you get to this point where you walk through this door, and all it is bicycles, just rows and rows and rows of bikes. And there's a couple of little cubby holes, and they're full of bikes, and either bikes or bike parts, so at this point, we've been really working on organization a lot the last couple of months, and so we've moved the workbenches around to in a position that flows better. We've brought some shelving in, and so we've got 3 full rows of parts, and then we got another room that's all full of wheels and tires. And so before the tires were in a giant pile, and so if you wanted to find something, you had to just pull the pile apart and then put the pile back together after you found what you needed, and the wheel pile was the same way, just a giant pile of wheels, and you fish through. So now we've got all the wheels. We must have, 150 hooks in the ceiling, and we've got all the wheels off of the floor hanging up on hooks, so you can just walk in and very quickly, see what's there and grab the one. It's really about speed as much, making it faster for us as much as anything. And you can go to the wall, and it's, I think there's 10 hooks on the wall. And all I did is I went to the hardware store and I bought a bunch of plumbing pipe, and I made these. I screwed one into the wall, and the other end comes out with a hook on it. And I think they're 24 inches deep, and there's 10 of them, and each one of them has as many tires mashed onto it as it can hold. But you can see, there's the 26s, there's the 24s, there's the 29s, there's the road bike tires, there's the kids bike tires, anyway. And so it makes it really easy to walk in a room and go, okay, I am going to be over here. I'm going to, anyway, and it increases our productivity, which means that we can reach more people, we can help more people. Yeah. When people come in wanting to do their own work, before they would come in working on a bike, and you get to the point where you need wheels. Okay, go over there and tear that pile apart until you find, anyway.
Good luck.
So, yeah,
it's like going to the Goodwill now, right? You're like, oh, they've organized it all for me. This is perfect. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. So it's a blast, and there's always a point when someone's working on their own stuff where you kind of see the light come on, because I think a lot of people come in and they look at it and it looks a little daunting, right? And so you finally get to a point where you got the wrenches in your hands, and there's a guy standing here to help you if you get in trouble. And some people like you to stand there with them the whole time. Some people kind of don't do well, when you're looking at them, and so you kind of point them in the right direction. You give them a few tips and pointers, right? And you just let them know that you're there if they need you. And then you get out of their way, and some people work really well like that. You get to see all the different, ways that people work. But regardless of whether you're the person that needs help and wants someone looking, or you're the person that does better when no one's looking, they all get to the point where the light comes on. Yeah. And it's super cool. Yeah. When the light comes on. Yeah. And I love it when we get to that point, and that's when you know that you're going to see him again. I've got a guy, his name was James. James he came in just as a guy looking for a bike, and now he's probably once, maybe a couple of times a week, he comes in and he's cleaning stuff up and he's organizing things. And he's my guy that, someone it's real common for people to drop off like a 50-pound box of parts, and you don't know what's in it. You don't necessarily know what's good and what's not. And so I set that stuff aside because James is a guy who loves to dive into a box of parts or a bucket of parts and sort them all out and get them in the bins. I've got another guy, his name's Van. Well, anyway, his name's Thomas Van Valkenburg III, I think is what it is. Anyway, and that's a mouthful, isn't it? And so, and this guy, I love this guy's story. So he was, how are we doing for time? Because I'll keep you here all day.
I think we'll wrap it up here in a second. But okay, I love stories too. This part.
So Van just turned 70, and the first time I met him was two full years ago, 2 years ago, and so he was 68 years old at the time. He is a guy who's diabetic. Okay. He smoked for 50 years. His doctor told him, if you continue smoking, you're going to die. It's just that simple, He says you can smoke or you can walk. And so he decided to, who'd have figured, he decided to quit smoking. And so he ended up having some stents put in his feet because, diabetics struggle with circulation to extremities. And so he had some stents put in his feet. I think he's got a couple in his legs. But, at 70 years old, this guy lives in Post Falls, and he pedals his bicycle from Post Falls on the Centennial Trail to the shop in downtown Coeur d'Alene. In the summertime, he'll do it 2 or 3 days a week. So we're talking, 10 miles round trip. So he's doing,
there's 30. Some hills in there too.
Oh yeah. So, and then he also does, and so at 70 years old, this guy's riding, 30 to 50 miles a week on his bicycle. He's gone from type 1 diabetic, insulin dependent, to being able to control his insulin with food. And and he's gone from being a smoker that he said could barely walk from the house to the mailbox without getting out of breath, to a guy who can pedal 10 miles a day
70 years old.
At 70 years old on a bicycle.
That is vibrant living right there. I love that story.
Yeah, absolutely. I got another guy that comes in who had a brain aneurysm and was nonverbal for a while. He was actually, left side, lost use of his hand, couldn't use his leg very well, and he had been a cyclist for years, and it was driving him crazy that he couldn't ride his bike. And so he figured out a way to strap his, maybe it was clip-in shoes. I'm not exactly sure how he would and that's what he did. He had one pedal that was a clip-in, so he would clip his foot that didn't work right to the pedal, and then he would kind of push himself along with his foot that worked until he could get up enough speed that he could pedal, and then his pedal foot would make his other foot follow along. It would just move in the pedals.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he said one day he felt like he wanted to push, and so the leg that didn't work, all of a sudden he felt like he wanted to push. And so and that happened for like a couple of weeks. He said he felt like he wasn't strong, but he wanted to push, and so and then all of a sudden he was using the other leg, and he got his ability to speak back. I don't know that this kind of stuff happens all the time, but he swears that it was his bicycle and the moving and the having to think about and the balance and all the things that it takes to make a bicycle move. He swears that that's what brought him out of the, he calls it the dark times, and anyway, I like I said, I could tell these in almost 7 years of doing this.
Yeah.
And 40 plus years of being a bike fanatic, I have so many stories from so many people that their bike has just changed their lives. And
so if people can't come and visit you at the actual event, they're more than welcome to come in during your open hours, right?
The doors open Tuesday through Saturday from noon to 6, and you can walk in. You don't have to call ahead. You don't got to announce yourself. You don't, just show up and walk through the door. Months ago, we were doing some, again, when COVID was at its worst, we were doing some scheduling and stuff like that for safety reasons. But right now, the doors are open. You can wear a mask if that's where you're at comfort wise. A lot of people are got all their shots and stuff now. So it's up to you. We don't care if you wear a mask. Again, there's no politics in the shop of, oh my gosh, you're a masker or you're not. We just, bikes and politics, they don't belong together,
Right.
and not in that, that's our happy place. There's enough of other stuff. You can find that anywhere you want to. If you're sick of that stuff and you don't want to find it, come see us, because we don't do that down there, So like I said, if you want to wear a mask, nobody cares.
Yeah.
If you don't want to wear a mask, nobody cares. So you can maintain your distance. Again, it's your comfort level.
Right.
And
you're online, so people can check you out. Your website is lcbcbikes.org.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
And then you're on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep. I don't know. We're talking TikTok. I don't know,
I don't either. That makes me feel old.
I don't want to see this mug on TikTok,
No, I hear you. But I mean, the thing is, you're in person, right? Like, people go down, visit, like, see how you can support, how you can learn.
Yeah, for sure. If you got bikes that you don't use and you want to see them go somewhere to good use, bring them to us.
Or pieces of bikes, for that matter.
Or you just don't want to see them end up in the garbage. Bring them to us.
Yeah.
If you're aware of someone that could benefit from a bicycle, call us up. Let us know. If you want to, if you think that less carbon footprint, if you want to, if you drive your car, for whatever reason, you know what? Get on a bike, ride your bike. If you don't have a bike, come see us. If your bike is in disrepair, you got an older bike in the garage, and you're thinking you want to ride it again, come see us. If you're thinking about buying a bike but you're not quite sure and you don't want to go spend $500-600 at a bike shop, come down and see us. I'll tell you what, I'll let you come down and go out in the parking lot for a couple hours and figure it out, and if you decide that you want a bike, or maybe, because honestly, I mean, our bikes are, for a lot of people, they're entry bikes. It's a starting point, and then you're going to realize that even if you love it, you're going to realize that gosh, I want to put a lot of miles on a bike. Maybe I want a bike that does distance better, or I like this bike here. It's an old mountain bike. I want to go tear up Canfield. Maybe this isn't the best bike for that. And so again, these are entry level, these are starter bikes. They can be your lifelong bike, but for many people, they'll be your starter bike, your entry level bike, until you get to a point where you can go get something that's more specific to what you want, or I don't want to say better, because they're not necessarily, but and when you do decide to do that, go see the guys at Trek, or go see the guys down at Vertical Earth. They every bike shop in town, from Coeur d'Alene Bike Company to Vertical Earth to the Trek Shop to Mountain View Cyclery to Two Wheeler Dealer. Gosh, who have I missed? Have I got them all? Every single bike shop in town has donated bikes to us or parts to us or time to us. And we've done our best to give back to all those places in whatever capacity that we could. And
go to Stratisol for your bike accessories.
Like he's making garbage and making fantastic stuff. And we have some of his stuff at the shop. There's actually a gal named Jana Lux, I think, that makes baskets, and her thing is called Cool Bike Baskets.
Okay.
And so
Isn't she at the farmer's market?
Yeah. She's from out of Sandpoint, and so and so she comes down and does the Wednesday farmer's market, and I think she might do the one up in Hayden. I don't know what day that one is. Friday, Saturday. Anyway, I think she might do that one too. But anyway, and so I've been talking to her recently, and I think we might start having a few of her baskets around. And you know, a lot of I was out today, I think I was telling you earlier when we started talking that I was helping a guy clean out a storage unit that he had a bunch of, 40 years of accumulation of bicycles. And so this is my third trip, and I think I got one more trip over there. But parts and pieces, and some of this stuff is 40, 50, 60 years old. Some pretty cool, a lot of Schwinn stuff, but there's kind of some old Peugeot and some stuff in there that I super dig on that stuff. So anyway,
Well, Tom, I liked always end with, you've mentioned so many names. Obviously, you are a community center for bikes, for connecting people. Like, you were a huge piece of this community. But I always like to end with, who are 3-ish people that inspire you locally? You've already mentioned a bunch of them, from Stratisol to Beauty Health but is there anyone else that you wanted to give a shout out to?
Well, I'll tell you what, so there's people that help keep me focused and keep me motivated and keep me moving forward. And so the first person that I got to give credit to for that is my wife, Jamie.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm an ideas guy, and I'm a kind of get it started and not so much of a follow through to the end without someone to keep me going, focused. And so she's my focus. And but Mark, certainly your husband is, he motivates the heck out of me. And he's on the board, and that's the reason why I invited him to be on the board, and my board, they support me. So Nancy, Rose, people in the community that motivate me. I gotta say that I wouldn't be, I might be, but the guy who probably gave me the first big break to get this thing off the ground was Steve Widmyer.
That's awesome.
He's not running again. I guess he's not going to run for a third term, which is disappointing, I think. But I think he's been a good mayor. But so he continues to motivate me. We were having a text message a couple of minutes earlier yesterday, I think it was, and he says, "I hope you have a great day." Anyway, we started out talking about something HVAC. I don't remember what, but he says, "Have a great day." And I texted back and I said, "I'm digging a bunch of old bikes out of a barn. I'm having a good day." And so he texted me back a smiley face and said, "Have a blast." And I've got to know, we're fortunate as citizens. There's so many people in the city that do things that we don't even know who these people are. Right. So Bill Greenwood, the guy that runs Parks Department for the city of Coeur d'Alene, you look at all of these parks and the fantastic shape that they're in, that's the guy to thank for that. So Bill Greenwood at the Parks Department, Monty down at the Parks Department. I don't know. I could make you a list, like I said, the folks
to your point, though, the people behind the scenes, right, that are keeping
Yeah.
these gems like going and are passionate about our trail system, our park system, connecting people in the community, and
Yeah.
chipping away to make the world a better place, our community specifically, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's people on the Ped Bike Committee. There's you know, like I said earlier, I said, you know, John Kelly, retired City of Coeur d'Alene police officer. You know, he's still, when my phone rings and I pick it up and it's John, I always grin. You know, before I even hit the answer. You know, this guy he makes me laugh. He makes me angry. He makes me laugh. He makes me anyway. But he, you know, he keeps me, you know, he keeps me focused and he keeps me motivated. I don't know, you know, people like you who give me the opportunity to ramble on in my own particular fashion.
I love it. I think
I'm not
story
really against the point kind of a guy, you know. I'm a anyway, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that just I got a volunteer down at the shop. His name's Gary, and Gary is, you know, that he's a guy that, you know, for so long there was nobody down there to where I could, you know, get away for a few minutes during the day and go maybe run an errand or go pick a bike up or something. I always had to close the shop up and lock the doors when I left, and so it frustrated me because I felt like somebody was going to show up and need something while I was gone, and I was going to miss them. And so I'm so thankful to have Gary down there who can run the shop when I'm gone. And I've actually taken a day or, you know, a couple of days off last summer and just told Gary, I need a break, just run this thing. And so I'm thankful to have Gary, and I'm thankful to have a guy like Van with the story that he tells that makes me think, you know, I'm 53. In fact, our event on the 22nd is the day before my 53rd birthday. I turned 53 on the Sunday after. And so as I get older and you know, going through the things that change with getting older, and I see a guy like Van, it makes me think, you know, there's good hope for me when I'm 70 to still be in good shape, you know. And there's just, I got to tell you, one of the big things that motivates me is the person that's going to come in tomorrow in a situation that I can help with. That is, and so there's been a number of them that you know, I don't know their names. It's, you know, that's, we're talking 5 years ago, but I remember the story, and it motivates me, you know. And so I look forward to hearing the story. I'm like you, I love to hear a story, and so I like it when they come in and they tell me what has happened in their life, and that, you know, I take time to listen to them tell me the situation that they're in, and it's kind of how I can figure out what they need for a bike, you know, or whether they need to spend the time in the shop and build one themselves, or whether they just need to, you know, pick a bike that's already riding, and for me to figure out what they need to do, you know, to earn that bike, or certainly if it's a little kid that's in a situation. Again, I have, you know, CASA court-appointed special advocate reps that come in and they're looking for, you know, bikes for kids, and sometimes they can't divulge too much, but you know, I know that it's a kid that's in a situation that needs a break, you know. And so
well, and I think it just is an opportunity to connect with people, like ask people with whatever story that they're coming from or experiences that they've dealt with, and just to be there to be able to like give them that piece of hope, which you're doing through bikes, which just gives me chills even thinking about it. So I think you're inspiring a lot of people, and let's get that story out there more.